Welcome to Madame Raven's. This way to the library. She's been expecting you.
The Five Bodies by ItsMeRoyale. My partner Ike pressed the button on the elevator as we descended into the darkness of the facility. The hidden police station had called us earlier to arrive as soon as possible. A jumble of notes softly played on the elevator speakers, forcing the atmosphere to be a tad bit creepier than usual. A soft thud indicated we'd arrived at the bottom floor, and the door slid open to reveal a narrow corridor. I followed Ike down the solid path until we reached the door at the end. Standing in front of it was a security guard who immediately asked for my identification. ID, please. I showed him my wallet. He took a long glance at me before inspecting the contents. Code word, please. Ildum, I stated. He nodded. You may enter, Officer James. Ike followed in afterwards. The room I stood in was fairly small, but big enough for the criminal being held there. The arrested individual had been captured a week ago, and they notified the department to send for questioning after the confession. I saw two more guards standing in front of a steel door that led to a separate one-way mirror room near the corner. They waited until I approached before pulling out a key card and unlocking the door for me. I heard the lock click behind me as I examined the interrogation space. It housed a silver table with one chair on either side. One of the chairs was occupied by a man who looked to be in his 50s. Ike stood in the corner while I went forward and sat opposite the man. Sitting closer, I clearly noted the wrinkles that lined his eyebrows and his brown eyes. Round spectacles sat atop his curved nose, and he looked to be in desperate need of a shave. I tried to start the conversation. My name is... I know. Pleasure's mine, Officer James. I cleared my throat. All right, then. I've read your file, and, I just want to ask a few questions. Fire away. Why did you do it? Do what? He smiled. Stop playing around. You stabbed 5 people to death prior to midnight, exactly 2 weeks ago. I showed him the papers, careful not to reveal the last names. Jacob, Aaron, Merlin, Emily, and Santiago. I'm telling you, officer, I didn't do anything to them. Then why the hell did you confess? To see you. To bring you here. A slight pause hung in the air. What's that supposed to mean? He sat back with a pleased look on his face as he noticed my blatant confusion. Do you remember me, James? How would I know you? We're meeting for the first time. He chuckled. Am I allowed to help you recall? Just don't let the handcuffs scrape your wrists. I glanced down at the metal rings on my wrists that now locked me in place to the desk. How did you? Those weren't there before. Who are you? He stood up and strode towards me. Actually, you should be asking yourself that question. Who are you, James? He adjusted his spectacles. You asked me why I wanted you here, James. Do you remember anything besides your name or occupation? I began to think back, retracing through my memories. All I discerned was Ike and I arrived at this facility standing in the elevator, making our way down here. It felt like a whole lot was missing. but I couldn't distinguish what. My heart began to race. Blank slate, huh? You sighed. What I'm about to tell you is true. Your real name is not James. It is Connor. You subconsciously created it for your persona as an officer. No, I shook my head. No, you're lying. Connor listened to me. He grabbed the papers on the desk and read it out loud. Jacob, Aaron, Merlin, Emily, and Santiago. Take the first letters of their names and put them in order. What does it spell? My eyes went wide. James. I know this is hard to take in, but you murdered 5 of your co-workers in cold blood 14 days ago during a party at one of their houses. There was a drunk argument and you lost all control. Authorities later stumbled upon the cadavers strewn across the house. They finally found you at your own home, crying in the middle of the room, covered in blood, while clutching a knife. You've never been the same since. I slumped in my chair, my head pulsing and throbbing, sweat beginning to cake my forehead, and I felt like collapsing then and there. He continued, I'm Dr. Giles, and I've been treating you for this past week, trying to help you come to terms. You've been embodying the role of a detective as a way to forget and for your mind to focus on a split personality. Today, though, you must have made it far enough to hear the truth. I finally managed to choke out some words. Then, where am I? You're in one of my containment facilities. I breathed heavily and swallowed. I need to speak with my partner. Get me out of these handcuffs. I'm afraid, Connor, I can't do that. Ike was a perception of your subconscious, too. I turned back to the corner of the room. No one stood there. No! I shouted, struggling to free myself of the cuffs. The doctor leaned in. Please calm down, Connor, or I'm going to have to call security. I heeded his warning as I steadied my breath. Now, I realize this is difficult for you to believe. However, there is one more piece you should understand. What is it? Your partner's name is Ike. The code you use to get past the security guard up front is Ildum. Am I correct? I nodded. Put those 2 words together. Ike Ildum. I killed them. So quoth this raven. I'm sorry for the short video today, my darlings. I will make it up to you, I promise. I am trying to finish up an audiobook that I have a deadline on. So next week, I promise some long ones for you. Thank you so much for coming to listen. I appreciate you all so much. I still cannot believe you come to hear me speak. And a special thanks to my Patreon supporters, Charlotte Emerson, Ermin Case, Darren and Jennifer, and Laura. If you like this, please hit the little button to let me know. If you didn't, hit the little button to let me know. Leave a comment. I'm always glad to talk with you, my darlings. I'm open to suggestions and criticisms, critiques. If you have not subscribed, please do so and ring the little bell so you know when to come up and see me. And I will talk to you next time, my darlings. Farewell.